What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday we had what I think is probably Nintendo's best indie presentation so far. It's all indie games, but some of them didn't really feel quite like indie games, and it was a pretty good 25 minutes. It ended a little early, strangely. I don't really know why. Maybe they started it early and we didn't realize it. I don't know. It seemed like it was only like 22, 23 minutes, but hey, they seemed to show a lot, and there were some good ones in there. Definitely wasn't anything that was like really bad, but there's a lot of really good stuff. And then we're going to go over the entire presentation, top to bottom, and go over a few other little things that you may have missed. It's looking pretty cool. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Epic Game Store because they signed up a metric ton of exclusives. And we also saw an interesting design document that people have started to go through, and they found that there are actually some features missing from some of the Switch accessories that you might have actually wanted. It seemed to be removed ahead of time, right before release day. As always, guys, enjoy these videos with the like button. It really helps out. Make sure to subscribe because we do this every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. We also have some fun on the weekends with some teardowns and stuff, and I actually have a system we're going to be checking out hopefully this Monday that's it might be worth checking out, we'll say that. And we're going to start today with XCloud, actually, because XCloud is going to be going head-to-head with Google Stadia. We know that now. Those are the two big advertised streaming services. Google Stadia, of course, from Google, which is going to be integrated with Chrome and your phone and everything else around you, pretty much, tablets and everything. And it seems like XCloud is going to be a little more tightly wound with the Xbox console, whether the next gen one was Scarlet, maybe the current ones. We'll find out a bit more about that. But a lot of people have been wondering, how do they compete with what Stadia just showed? I mean, they're talking 8K 120 in terms of resolution and frame rate down the line, or 4K 60 with HDR now, and obviously it's everywhere pretty much. Well, the best way that XCloud can compete with this is latency. And in fact, Windows Central had a piece that was pretty interesting because it talked about how them and Eurogamer were finding, alongside of XCloud with interviews, that they're claiming it's 10 milliseconds on top of what we're used to, which some people are pointing out might actually end up being less than what a controller can add, whether it's a Bluetooth 1 to Android, for example. That is actually very impressive. In fact, the other thing that was interesting is a 5 megabit connection may be all that's required, which is significantly less than the 25 that Google wants you to have for what Project Stream was, and now Google Stadia. I tried Project Stream with Assassin's Creed, and it worked well enough. It was responsive enough, I guess. It wasn't amazing or anything, and a native experience is always going to beat out a streaming service, at least for now. But if XCloud can close that gap for responsiveness and latency, I think they might have something there. Also, while we're on the topic of Google Stadia, people did get to try it out at the event that they held. They had like demos and stuff on the showroom floor. One of the demos was actually Doom Eternal, and well, GameSpot tried it out. They had a video of it, as you're seeing here, and it was okay. There were a lot of first-hand accounts of how this was playing, with some people saying it was actually 60 to 90 milliseconds on top of it. That's with Google's like amazing internet that, trust me, they put Stadia in the best scenario possible in front of these journalists and reporters, and they were still saying it felt slow, it felt unresponsive at times. And here's the thing, Doom Eternal is a super fast game. Like, you want that to be responsive. You're looking for, like, you know, massive frame rates with 144 hertz monitors to get that really precise movement. Then they're dropping this massive latency on top of it that might not be as bad for something like an RPG or a slower game, but something like Doom, or even worse, a fighting game, it's not going to work out. But they tried it. It wasn't feeling great. We'll have to see how it goes when we actually get our hands on it in our environments at home with Comcast and Verizon and whoever else internet is out there that decides to, you know, throttle, data cap, and all that good stuff. That'll be interesting. Also, Game Pass put out a couple of games that appear to be coming soon. They just dropped it on Twitter. They keep saying, like, oh, 2 new games coming soon, 3 new games. And they show us a slide, as you're seeing here, of 6 games. So, okay, some of the bigger ones, I guess, would be pointed out are things like Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, which is good. Vampire, which actually, it's a pretty fun game. It's worth checking out if it's on Game Pass. I've actually played it, a year or so ago, and I thought it was a cool idea with how you can pretty much sacrifice villagers or people you know to get a massive power boost and all of a sudden be much stronger. And then, of course, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is kind of hiding over there in the corner, so if you didn't play that, that's another, I guess, easy way to check it out, because the game itself was fairly low quality from a lot of people who played it, and of course, it was not reviewed very well, and we heard about the budget issues. But Game Pass continues to prove its value, and if Game Pass does start to go other places like PC, where all of the same games are available there, then yeah, things keep getting interesting, and they'll probably feel the need to continue putting stuff on there, but they already put a lot on there. So hey, for $10 a month, if it's like a slower month for you, or maybe you don't have kind of the funds, start getting like $60 here, $6 here, and you just want a nice little month of some backlog, $10. It's a pretty big backlog. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start with the Nindies presentation. So Nintendo, of course, had their Indie Showcase and went over well. People were really excited. Some caught off guard by the first announcement and then the last announcement. Yeah, interesting stuff here. So let's actually go through the entire list, then I'll go through and point out a few of them. Had some shadow drops, which were cool, one of which I was actually playing yesterday and really enjoying, but a lot of stuff to go through, so let's just go through it and come back to some of the bigger ones. Starting with Cuphead, of course. Cuphead from Studio MDHR, that's coming April 18th, and this is the one that got them started and people got hyped right away. Good way to open, by the way, was with Cuphead. That was really fun to see. And yeah, it's on the Switch. We're going to circle back around that one because there's a little bit of news some of you guys might be happy to hear about. Overland is actually coming fall 2019. On from there, My Friend Pedro is by Devolver Digital, coming June 2019. Some of these had some actual release dates. Other ones were pretty much just timetables or times throughout the year. Neocab coming summer 2019. The Red Lantern, which was at least an interesting idea, where it seemed like a survival game that was set, I guess, in Alaska, it seemed, where you have a team of dogs that are running through and you're trying to complete essentially a journey there, and of course stuff goes wrong. It's later this year. It's at least an interesting idea. I'm not a big, to be honest, I'm not like a big survival fan, but it at least looks interesting. Dark Wood, that's May 2019, which again, a pretty dark game. The one that was really cool that I saw that I'm very interested to see more about is Katana Zero, and that one reminded me a bit of a Game Boy Advanced game like Ninja 5.0, for example, but had some slowdown moments where you can reflect the bullets back by hitting them with your katana, and they had this really weird kind of dark part of the game where you're actually remembering stuff or talking with your therapist and they give you like drugs, it seemed. Very, very odd. I definitely want to hear more about that, and it's coming out next month, so that's pretty cool, not too far away. Rad is coming summer 2019. That's actually done by Double Fine and Bandai Namco. So I saw Bandai Namco, I thought that was, okay, that's interesting to see them kind of join in there. Creature in the Well, another interesting one to see. That was kind of the one that was like almost like a pinball style game mixed in there. Summer 2019. Blood Roots, that's by Paper Cult, summer 2019. And we have Pine, that's August 2019. Pine looked a bit generic to me, I'll be honest. So we'll see if they can win me over with some of the gameplay or just the game itself. Super Crate Box, April 2019. Nuclear Throne, that's actually out today, so you could check that one out if you haven't already. Ultra Bugs is out later this year. And then we had Blaster Master Zero 2. That's the one that I've been playing quite a bit of. That's actually out as well already for $10, so that's a good one. I'm really enjoying that so far. Swim Sanity is out summer 2019. Stranger Things 3, the game, was shown. Wasn't sold on this one, but July 4th, it's coming. And then this was a big one that really caught people off guard, and I'm going to explain why. Cadence of Hyrule. That's actually Crypt of the Necro Dancer and Legend of Zelda kind of mixed together, and that's coming summer 2019. That's right, guys. Yeah, Nintendo let an indie developer use the Legend of Zelda IP for a game. I mean, really think about that for a second. I mean, Nintendo is letting an indie developer use one of their biggest IPs, an IP that sells a ton, has massive recognition, and letting an indie game developer create with it. That is amazing. First of all, the game looks at least interesting enough. I'm not super familiar with the series, I'll admit, but it at least looked interesting, and the art style and everything, and of course it has the Legend of Zelda characters, so a lot of people are going to be interested right away, myself included. I immediately saw a Legend of Zelda and I said, oh wow, okay, let's see. We heard the music first, and then it was like, what is this? Is this a 2D Zelda game as well? We already have one. Here's another one, kind of. It at least looks interesting. I'll be checking it out over the summer, of course. And let's jump back to Cuphead, because I know some of you were asking, I saw it in the live stream, is there a physical copy coming? Well, yes, there is actually. So this was pretty interesting because on Reset Era, developers of Cuphead, Studio MDHR, chimed in a bit, and they said that you will see the DLC and everything. They're even going to have a big free update that takes place alongside that Switch release. And then their plans are to release a physical copy afterwards for both the Xbox and the Switch. So yes, you too can buy Cuphead on a cartridge, everything included. That is a cool idea and concept. Think about that for a second. From when we heard Cuphead to when it was released on the Xbox to now hearing that you will be able to buy it in one of those very recognizable red cases for the Switch on a cartridge. Now, I also like to hear that they're going to do a physical one for the Xbox as well, because before it was just a code in a box, and that was deflating as anything when you bought it. I'm sure some people didn't hear about that. They bought it excited to think about it, and they open it up and it's a code. Yeah, that's not fun because it's kind of worthless. But Blaster Master 02 has been a lot of fun for me. I still have to spend some time with it, but so far about the 2 hours or so I've played, it's enjoyable. I like the first one. This one's kind of more of the same, and it seems like they're introducing some new elements and everything, so I'm having a good time. Integrates is doing some good stuff with kind of the 2D sprite-based artwork and everything, so I'm always interested in that. And then, of course, the Zelda-style indie game looks cool as well. It was just overall, it was pretty good indie direct. There was a lot of stuff happening, and there were only a few down points, like Stranger Things 3 was kind of a down point in the stream, I'll be honest. But overall, they brought it for the indies. Next up, let's talk about the Epic Games Store because, well, they've been signing a lot of timed exclusives mostly, but they're trying to make it so you have to download their storefront. And of course, Epic Games has some money with Fortnite having blown up in popularity and making them a ton of money. They're reinvesting into something that will probably last longer than Fortnite, just to be honest, with their storefront, and has the potential to make way more money after what we've seen with Valve. So here they are now signing some games, and some of these are going to surprise you a little bit. So think of Quantic Dream. You may be thinking of Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, or of course we saw Detroit Become Human launch. Well, Epic Games is, they're signing those. Yeah, those are all coming to PC, which sounds pretty crazy to kind of say that, right? Those games are coming to PC, and they're going to the Epic Games Store first. So that is an interesting thing to see. Again, it's them kind of signing these games over. Let's talk a bit about The Outer Worlds, a game that people have been pretty excited. This is, of course, from Obsidian. It looks really, really neat. Also, going to the Epic Games Store first. Okay, that's releasing later this year. What about Control? That's coming out over the summer, right, from Remedy? Also going to the Epic Games Store first. Yeah, you can kind of see a trend here, right? What about all the other games that they announced at GDC? Well, they have Ancestors, The Humankind Odyssey, After Party, The Cycle, Dauntless, Industries of Titan, Journey to the Savage Planet, Kine, Phoenix Point, The Sinking City, Spellbreak, Soul Ash. Do you see that the Epic Games Store isn't here to just play around, Valve? They're actually making some business right now. Valve might want to start making some moves, because to see all those Quantic Dream games go, The Outer Worlds, right? That was a big one to hear about. Control. Valve might want to start doing anything. All they've done is release a card game that is pretty much done at this point. They either want to start making some games, or maybe at this point, it's not really good enough just to be Steam right now, because the Epic Games Store is very, very aggressive, and they've run into their own issues, but it comes down to games, and they're making sure they have a reason for you to install their storefront. They need to work on that storefront with a lot of stuff they need to add, but games come first. We've seen that several times now in the history of just game consoles. So Steam, you might want to get something here. In our last bit of news, let's talk about some features that were strangely removed from the Switch. I can at least explain one of them, but the other one I'm not sure. It's weird. I'm trying to come up with why they did this. So I talked about before on Twitter how there is no headphone jack on the Switch Pro controller, but there is on the Google controller, which is weird because it tells me that even Google knows you got to put a headphone jack on there. Okay, that's fine. Well, what if I told you there was supposed to be one there? And that might catch some people off guard. But over on Reset Era, you're seeing a post where they went through the documents that are still pretty heavily confidential, I guess. I'm not sure if they want people to be posting them all over the place. But this was actually done over on Reset Era, like I said, by Therios. And they pointed out a couple of different passages. One was under 3.4 peripheral hardware that reads, remove the reference to the headphone microphone jack for the NX Pro controller. These are design documents back in 2016, actually dated April 27th, 2016. So that was the NX overview document. Again, fairly confidential. I'm not sure how Nintendo feels about that floating around, but it is out there. And then from there, they also spotted another one that said, remove the display supported content in 4K option from TV mode. So, if you go to TV mode, you have like 1080p and 480p or something. 4K apparently was in there. Now, of course, they didn't really have anything to display in 4K when it came out. So, all right, I get that. I mean, really, what was the display? They didn't have any media. There was no Hulu. There was no Netflix. There's no YouTube. None of that. I mean, kind of now there is. So, and the X1 supports 4K. So I guess they could technically work it back in with a patch if they wanted to for media. I'm not saying games are going to be in 4K because it's not the case. It's going to be like media like YouTube and Hulu or a Netflix, anything like that where you're watching videos, for example. But taking the headphone jack off the controller is weird unless they ran into issues with Bluetooth or it wasn't set up as they wanted it to. I don't know, because a headphone jack on the Pro controller seems like it's almost mandatory at this point with everyone else doing it and it having a very, very a good benefit to it. I mean, whether you're chatting through it now with something like Fortnite, or the other benefit is you can actually just run some headphones to it and not have to run it to like your system or run wireless through USB or something. You just plug it into your controller. I've used that with the Xbox One actually several times now, so that's a pretty good benefit there. I don't know why. Maybe they're going to add it back in. Maybe they just have an adapter for that USB-C at the top. Very, very strange. But of course, they wanted to go the route of your cell phone to be talking, and they kind of backed off from that a bit. So who knows? Seems like there were some issues in designs there, and they weren't sure which way to go. They picked one way, and they probably should have gone the other. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's the Nindies presentation, what was your favorite game, was there a game there that surprised you, and how do you feel about Cuphead? How do you feel about that going to the Switch? Because I think some people are pretty excited, or are you going to wait for that physical version? Or what other indie developers would you like to see have a hand with some of Nintendo's IPs now that they're apparently letting them work on these things? Like having an indie developer work on their Zelda IP, it's a pretty big deal. Maybe we have Shinnen work on F-Zero? I don't know. Let me know, guys, down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.